everybody, this is Rustin with Metalholic Magazine and The Examiner. With us today, the Thunder Punch in Five Finger Death Punch, Jeremy Spencer. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Absolutely wonderful. You guys are out on the Trespass tour right now in Billings, Montana today, right?
Yeah, the weather is absolutely awesome, man. I couldn't ask for a better day.
Not a whole lot going on in Montana, but it is just so damn beautiful there. You got to go.
I'll tell you what, it seems really relaxed here. I wouldn't mind looking into a place like this later to maybe chill out and have a place here. You know, it's really nice.
Absolutely. Now, you guys just kicked off the Trespass America tour. You already did the Share the Welt tour at the end of last year. How's it all going so far?
Really good. You know, I mean, we launched the tour in Denver the other night, and it was great. It was, you know, there were the first few day glitches and things like that to be expected, but it went over really well, and I'm really happy. I think the production's really insane, and we're getting really positive feedback on it, so I'm really glad to be out here again.
Nice. Well, and of course, unfortunately, you're not coming to my neck of the woods on this tour because you came last time, so I'm going to miss you guys this time around. But the tours have been phenomenal from everything that I'm hearing. Now, you're sporting a new summer look. It looks like you got your hair cut back there, and you got a new drum kit to go with it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, it's a lot easier to drum without having all that hair hanging in my face. It used to get caught in my armpits when I was playing and stuff. I'm like, all right, it might be time to maybe address this. So, and the new kit, you know, D-drum hooks me up really good, and it's my new kit for Trespass. It's a Reflex D-drum kit, and I love it. It's awesome.
Well, you know, we just had Jason on the show the other night on Metalholic Radio. He was talking with Trace Davis from Voodoo Amps about his gear because he's a total gearhead with his equipment. Are you the same way with your drums?
You know what? I'm not quite as into it as he is. He almost has a disorder with his like and love for gear, but I certainly love my drums, don't get me wrong, but he obsesses over his gear all the time. I always catch him even on Craigslist looking to buy gear. I mean, like, dude, you realize that there's a bunch of fans outside. Will he get up and come out there? He's in his bunk on Craigslist buying gear.
So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, one of the serious things before we get into some of the other stuff is, I know you're a big supporter of Randy Blythe and Lamb of God, but what's your take on this whole situation and where a fan has to take responsibility for their own actions?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone likes to have a good time. I think it's really unfortunate. From the video that I've seen, it doesn't really look like that would be something that would cause somebody to die. But I guess you really never know. None of us really know the facts. I just think it's a tragedy all the way around. And I think for fans these days, especially after the Dimebag Darrell incident, I just think don't play on stage unless you're invited. You know, I mean, that's the only time because everything changed after that day. And I really feel for Randy, and I wish him the best, and I hope it gets worked out and he gets out and all that stuff. And, you know, and I feel sympathy for the family of the victim too, you know. So it's really bad all the way around. But you know, almost these days now, it's almost better to stay off the stage unless you're invited. I think that's my take on it anyway.
Absolutely. Now, it's a little bit harder for fans to get on the stage for you guys because you guys have been out on these big arena tours. And I was going to say, it's so difficult in this economy with the near death of the music industry for a band to make it to that next level, yet you guys have managed that pretty well. I mean, with the release of American Capitalist, you guys have jumped to headlining arena tours since you've been out on the new tours. And besides the music, obviously, what is it that you think that makes the fans relate to you guys so well?
I think it's the overall package. I mean, we were fans of older school bands, you know, like in the 80s, Metallica, Iron Maiden, stuff like that. So, and they always presented the whole thing, merchandise, live show, albums, you know, first and foremost, it's songs and material. I think people relate to our stuff because Ivan really writes from the heart. And a lot of his stuff's relationship-based, so I think it's relatable to a lot of people. Secondly, I think the environment of our live show is pretty crazy with all the production and the merch, you know, and it's just one big family with our fan base. I mean, they were supporting us even before we had a record deal. We threw some songs up on MySpace, and we started developing a fan base, and they've been with us ever since, and it's just continued to grow, and it's awesome.
Well, and speaking of family, you guys have done a little fine-tuning since the beginning of the band. I think the addition of Jason after the first album really added some punch, no pun intended. And Chris Cale is fitting quite nicely. Is this sort of what you and Zoltan envisioned when you started the band, or is it sort of taken on a life of its own?
Well, I mean, we certainly had a vision of wanting to do a certain style and overall sound, but it has grown into a life of its own with the different energies and personalities and musicians, you know. So I'm thrilled where it is. I didn't really know what to expect and where it would go. You always hope for the best, but this has really kind of been a wonderful surprise, man, and we're really grateful to be in the position we are because, like you said, the economy's tough. People really don't buy records these days, but they're still buying Death Punch records, so I'm very grateful.
Absolutely, and you guys have had some great success and expect it to continue. Now, last time I saw you guys was I sat down with Matt and talked when you guys were on the Mayhem tour a couple of years ago when you rolled through Boise, and you guys were getting ready after that tour to sit down and record American Capitalist, and you recorded that started recording it about a year before it came out. Well, we're starting to cycle around again. You put out an album every 2 years. Are you guys looking at starting album number 4 sometime later this year, or is it going to be farther down the road this time?
No, that's our plan. Yeah, well, I mean, we're writing and documenting some ideas now, but once we get off this tour, I think we're going to really woodshed and create it and start recording it right away. So, because we definitely want to have it out by next summer. So that's our goal.
So, okay, and I've talked to different members of the band in the past, but I've never had a chance to sit down and talk with you. So I want to find out a little bit about Jeremy Spencer. I know Jason's big into military history. Zoltan, obviously, no question, he's big into martial arts and everything. What else are you passionate about outside of music?
Well, I really love. I'd say as far as hobbies, I love watching football. I love football. I'm actually trying to start a league for underprivileged kids in Las Vegas where we live. So people, I think it'd just be a great thing. I could be involved in football, having not really ever done it except when I was real young. I didn't go to college and play or anything, but I have a real passion for football. And certainly, doing some movies, like Ivan's been doing some movies. I definitely am gearing towards that as well. I'm also writing an autobiography of my life and my struggles with my addictions and demons and the rise of the band and all that stuff. So I'm looking to put that out sometime maybe next year. So I'm busy, and but I would say a hobby of mine is definitely being into football. I love that, and I'd love to be a part of it. Like I said, trying to start that league in Vegas.
So spending your time between Vegas and Los Angeles, two cities that don't have a professional team, who's your allegiance to?
Well, I'll tell you what, my pro football team is the Arizona Cardinals. I used to go to the games in St. Louis when they were in St. Louis. I guess my dad kind of went to school with some of those guys, so I got to go to some of those games and meet the players. And then I followed them when they went to Arizona. I just stayed with them as a fan, So. And, I've certainly experienced lots of downs with them, but they're a solid football team. They're getting better, and it's fun to watch. And, my college team is Nebraska. I'm a big fan of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nice. But I'll watch any football game. I don't care who it is. You
just like the game, the passion, everything that goes with it. So now that's a hobby. Is there something, because we all have something outside of what we normally do, because I could talk music for absolute hours, but we all have something that we're passionate about that we can have intense conversations about that have nothing to do with our usual stuff. Is there something like that for you that you're just really into, you could talk about for, just ongoing?
For sure. I mean, I'm really into movies. I'm into all kinds of movies. I just like entertainment in general, but music's obviously my first passion, and I'll talk music trivia with anyone all day long. I love it. I'm really into it. But movies is another thing, so I could talk about that for hours.
Specific genre for you, or is there a one or two films that are like right up at the top of your list?
Well, I mean, I really like the horror genre. I'm into horror movies, but I'm also into all types. As long as it's good, I'm into it. Even if it's crappy on purpose, I love those cheesy B movies too. I think they're fun and entertaining.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm pretty open to anything that's cool.
So does this mean you go around quoting movie lines all the time?
Oh, all the time. I get on people's nerves all the time. And there's other people on the crew and stuff that are into it, and we always just joke around and quote movies and stuff all the time. So it's fun.
Nice. Okay, so looking back, I'm sure you've talked plenty of times about your inspirations and stuff, but was there an album that you bought when you were younger, a cassette, whatever it was at the time, a CD, that when you first bought it, that was sort of the one that really was that moment of impact for you that really changed the direction of your life?
well, I was into Kiss right out of the gate, like really young, at 6 years old.
Yes.
And that kind of got me into drumming. But I would say the Master of Puppets Metallica record really changed me, because the double bass I heard on that freaked me out, and I thought, wow, man, you can do that with your feet. So I was really into it, and then I just started finding as many records like that as I could that had that double bass stuff.
So would you agree it's an absolute travesty that Kiss keeps getting snubbed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Not really. They'll come around. It's building in their favor now, because now there's publicity and awareness about it, and it'll happen. So, I mean, it's definitely going to happen. It's Kiss. They're one of the biggest bands of all time that had the most impact of ever. So I think it will happen. But, yeah, I guess it's unfortunate, but I doubt it's really slowing them down much.
Yeah, absolutely not. Going out on another huge summer tour of their own this year. So, and the new album is ready to come out. I'm really looking forward to this one. So,
me too.
Now, speaking of all the touring you're doing, you're going to be working on your 4th studio album and everything. Back in the day with Kiss, it was 3 albums, live album, 3 albums, live album. Are we going to see something live from you guys? A DVD, an album?
Yeah, we're working on a DVD now, so I'm hoping that happens soon. We've been trying to put one together, and I think this tour is the perfect one, so we're definitely working on that.
Nice. So last thing then, before we get out of here, if you could sit down and spend the evening with anybody, past, present, alive, dead, who would it be and why?
Probably, you know what, my favorite artist of all time is Prince, so I'd probably like to sit down with Prince and just ask him how he created some of those records. He was on fire for a big streak during the 80s with some of his records, and I was a big fan of that. So I would love to sit and talk to him about even how they were engineered and how the whole thing came together, because I'm really kind of enthralled by him and his whole career. I know that doesn't seem like it would be a heavy metal answer, and it's really not, but it's the truth.
Well, that's the whole thing. Everybody's so big into frickin' labels. If it's good, it's good. It doesn't matter what it is. And you guys wouldn't make the music you made if you didn't have sort of the eclectic mix of music that you grew up listening to. So,
I agree.
Jeremy Spencer, Five Finger Death Punch, out on the Trespass America tour. Great lineup you guys dragged out there with you. We'll be looking forward to the DVD, hopefully, and the new album next year, assuming the world doesn't end in December. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us, as always.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care, brother.